Oh, just really into the music. Hey, we're
Here
back.
we are.
Here we are. Welcome to another edition of Get Found.
And be seen.
Oh, whoa, dude, you scared me for a moment. I didn't know you could do magic like that. You belong
Once
in
in
the
a while.
Marvel universe.
Once in a while.
Once in a while. Once in a while.
Christmas magic.
Christmas magic. That's right. And we are close and down to the wire.
Getting down there. Getting this show in there real quick.
Right. Yeah,
The
I'm glad we
holidays
could get
hit.
another. Right. I'm glad we could get another episode in before Christmas.
Yeah. And another one based on your book.
Ah, that's right. Another one based off of my book. Speak Confidently on Camera. I love the one we did last week. I love this one as well. Unprepared for the Spotlight. I like that
This
title
is
too.
that overlooked or maybe taken for granted concept.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Taken for granted. And it's definitely understandable because there's so much you have going on. Of course, you want to have a checklist, but even if you do have one, there are so many things you have to keep in mind when it comes to getting your content out and going on camera. And just being prepared is important.
Yeah, that it's going on camera when you're planning ahead. You have that checklist you mentioned. And that's where I'm suggesting some people might just overlook being aware of the environment part. They're just,
Right.
I got to go. I'm going to be on camera. That's all there is.
Right.
But other people might take it for granted and say, I'm going there. Nothing I can do about it.
Right. And also one of my coaches would say before, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. And on one hand, it's like, duh. And on the other hand, it's like, there's a little bit of depth to that.
Right. Right. Absolutely. You want to be aware there's some depth to it. And the cool thing is it's attainable for everyone. And when it comes to going on camera, there are different, for lack of better words, there are different aspects. There's like what we do. We like the whole presentation because it's fun and it creates the mood. I'm a fan of setting the tone. It sets the tone. Other times, you might have to be on camera in your car, or you might have to do it while you're walking. But in a general sense, when you want to present, if you could have a good checklist in mind where you can set the tone, set the mood, right, so that you could engage your audience and have fun.
And that's interesting. You mentioned you might have to do it in your car or do it from your phone. You might have a really nice studio, like maybe some people have, in your background, or perhaps you suddenly having work done on the house or on the place that you're normally at, and now you have to go to a new location and set up with some temporary stuff, or deal with, tolerate poor lighting, or there's just all these different things about going to a new situation, and that's the whole point about being aware of your environment.
Right.
But you could be a guest. You could be a guest on a podcast, and one would say, "Oh, well, I'll still be in my place. It'll be on video." But there's that extra layer that you're in their show.
Right.
So there's another environment. So my key point there is pointing out environments are not necessarily a physical set, a physical location.
Right.
Especially now in our world of remote.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question the question is best posed is, how can you set yourself up for success with what you have and how you want to show up at the end of the day,
At the start of the day.
at the start of the day, or the end of, well, yeah, any time of the day, right?
That's right.
Right. So I like what you talked about, as far as your environment. You don't want to ignore your environment, because that would be a mistake. Like I think about, let's talk about some key elements, like the lighting. That's a big one.
That's what I was touching base on.
Yeah.
That being aware, like, oh, I've been ousted of my normal location, and my new location doesn't have the great lighting that I have. So I'm going to need to accommodate or
Right.
pivot.
Right.
I'm going to need to do something so that I don't get in there and start going and then realize, oh, I look like a zombie because there's dark around my eyes. Oh, wait, my glasses do that to me all the time.
So what did you do, Monty? Because I know that you had that experience, right? When you had to get some work done. Like, what were some...
Recently, I've had to go through several stages of being in a new location, being in a location I didn't want to be in, because of windows being in bad spots and wood paneling that was not reflective nicely. And so I had to do all sorts of hacks, hanging up sheets and having lamps behind the sheets and then hanging up poster board and then just all kinds of stuff. Eventually, when I was able to get into a new location, then I bought lights. At the time, I didn't know where I was going to put the lights or how big or, all these details, because I wasn't in the new location. I was making do. So I was just having to be really aware of my environment and being intentful.
Right. No, I love that. And I know that too, like when you had the sheet, you're talking about the sheet that was the light that went through the sheet, right? To kind of give it that
to diffuse the light. Feel. Also, like I said, I had wood paneling, similar to this wood paneling here, but it was on the ceiling. Well, actually, can you see it? It's actually on this picture here. Luckily, this is just my background, so I don't have that reflection anymore. But when the wood paneling was on the ceiling, I was getting a golden glow reflection rather than a nice white light. So the sheet was it diffused the window light and it covered the wood paneling so that the reflective qualities became more white.
Got it. Nice. Yeah, that's creative. That is creative. And I got together with someone last week, and we were talking about lighting, and I just mentioned to her that it's good to have three pieces of lighting. I mean, one, if you can have the window facing you, that's good, that's helpful. But we talked about 3 pieces of lighting, like a soft white lighting being helpful to cover any dark spots. But some people like the darkness on one side of their face. It's different, you want to figure out how you want to show up. So
and there's that intentfulness and knowing the environment. And then I was also explaining the next level for me of I just have to tolerate something, knowing that in the future is going to get better, but for now I just need to make it the best it can be. Again, let's touch base on the it doesn't have to be perfect. Take some imperfect action. Be aware, do the best you can. And once you've achieved the best you can or near the best you can, get to 80%, move on.
Move on. I love that. And so many coaches assume that having the basic equipment is sufficient, not realizing how critical these environmental elements are to their presentation success. Do you agree?
Right. That's that being intentful. Then the taking it for granted. Like, this is what I have. This is the setup I have. That's that's the last thought. Then you're overlooking potential hiccups that you could avoid.
I don't like. I can't stand hiccups.
Although, let's touch base on that balance and last week's topic about overthinking.
Mm,
So there's just this, you don't want to breeze over it. You don't want to get hung up on it. You just want to be aware of it.
right.
Can it be improved efficiently, quickly?
Right.
And then again, moving on.
Right. Yeah, I love the idea of tweak. I like to say tweaking. Tweak it as you go. You know, make the tweaks as you go. It's all good.
And some of that can be testing.
Right.
Did this work better? Did that work better?
Right. Right. And some people though they can lack the, not some can, but they do lack the technical skills, which is totally fine. You don't feel like you have to be a guru to get all of it done. It's just, that's where the tweak in the adjusting can help out, as you're going. You can get with a coach or, do some research to figure it out and to get the information you need so that you can be set up for success. That's important.
And test.
Test.
Try out and see, like with lighting. I'm just going back to lighting because that's what we were just focused on. It's like, throw some lights up there and see how it works. Get on a Zoom with somebody and say, hey, how do I look? How do I look if I change this light like this? Change this light like that? Stephen and I have done that on a couple different occasions. So that's helped me with my lighting to find out, hey, what do you think? Does this look better or that look better?
Right. Yeah, he's a man he's a man.
He's video and photography. He's got a lot of knowledge in that area. So I tap into that. Like you said, get a coach, get somebody that has that knowledge. So you don't have to do as much testing. Right. It's good to test, but also if you can capitalize on someone else's testing,
right,
amplify your results. Yeah,
absolutely. And having someone who can coach you along is great. And even we say testing, I believe it's important to, if you're testing it out, have an idea of where you want to get to as well. Because if you're just testing out, you don't know where you want to go, then you're going to be going in circles. So like you mentioned, getting someone like Steven, someone like myself can help out as well. As far as your camera confidence that's vital for sure.
Yep. You don't want to rush through it. That's where you end up with oversights and I wish I would have.
Right. Oh yeah. Take your time and check. Have a checklist. Check what you need before you go on. And you could even practice too before you go live or record your final. You could practice what you're going to do. And like the balance, like you mentioned too before with the balance, you don't overdo it, don't overthink it, because you'll be testing up the wazoo, testing till the cows come home. Test it, do something that's good enough. Don't worry about being perfect. Do not overthink.
Exactly. Yeah. Do a few tests.
Yeah.
And see which one's best. Move forward. Moving on. Next time around, test out a few more things.
Right. Make it fun. I love, what I love, Monty? I love the outtakes on movies, especially people like Jim Carrey. Sometimes those are more fun than the movies themselves because they're having so much fun when they're delivering. And if they mess up, the mistake is just golden.
Right.
So it reminds me of that when we mentioned too, like, taking your time, because you take your time and you test things out, and you're going on camera, you're going live or recording, and you're having fun with it. You're creating a lot of special moments that are golden nuggets. You want to give the content, give the information, but it's also edutainment. You can use that to your advantage.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, wrapping back around, being aware of your environment can help you avoid some technical issues. Like, even if you're not a technical person, which is key and vital, you want to avoid technical issues so that way you're not distracted. Your audience isn't distracted.
Right.
And what I like is in your book, you go into some of the key points,
Right.
so that again, there's that don't overthink it. Don't go down the 20 points. It's like, here's just the key points.
Right. Absolutely. And you could tackle each key point as you go, as you tweak. I'm a fan of that. I like to say grace and poise. Grace and poise.
And perhaps to stay unwhelmed, to keep from overwhelm, you pick one of those things and test that out on one occasion, and then go to another occasion or the next occasion and go to the next item.
Right. I love that. I like the idea of being unwhelmed.
Yeah, unwhelmed. But that's another topic. Let's talk real quick before we have to wrap up. What types of things, what types of characteristics of environment would one want to be aware of? Just really quickly, like I was mentioning, the environment is going to encompass more than just the physical space that you're occupying. That now I have this digital environment.
Yeah.
I like saying that, environment. I watched a comedian recently that talked about the silent letters. And so now I'm I'm over enunciating and talking to, anyway. Being aware of the environment that you are occupying digitally. Just thinking about, identifying what some of those places are, not getting into what you need to do about them. Just what are some of those places to be aware of?
What are some of those places as far as in your environment?
Think things in the digital environment, things in physical environments, just things that maybe people take for granted or overlook as elements that you can use to help bolster your confidence when you're getting on camera.
Right. Like, so you want to have a camera that works for you. Some people feel like you have a huge or a $80,000 DSLR camera. Totally exaggerating. But you don't necessarily need one. If you want to have one, go for it. But you can use your cell phone. A lot of times the cell phones are way better as far as the lenses are better than the DSLR cameras that come with the manufactured lenses that come with them. So you could use your cell phone. You can have a stand, a tripod, something, so that you can have balance. If you don't have a tripod, say, for instance, if you want to record like right now, if you could stand your camera up on some books or something like that. You want to be eye level with it. That's important because, and I need to do a video about this, but a lot of times people are doing videos and when they show up, they're looking down on you. It's not parallel. It's not horizontal, I should say. So that's a big deal because how we're talking now, it's like we're having a regular conversation. But if I'm looking down, it's like roar.
So angle, camera, and angle. And I would dare say then zoom. Like right now, I feel I'm a little too close. I have to mess with my adjustments a little bit because you definitely don't want to be,
right. Like, so we can see your nose hairs. That's, that's tough, but I think where you're at is good, to be honest. Like, even for me, I'm a little further back, but just with my environment, my background, the environment that I created, it fits because you can see the ceiling, etc.
So there's the key point: being aware of the environment. How much hand gestures, how much body movement, what kind of engagement with anything around you, with you on the screen, are you going to do? Those are all things to be aware of in your environment that are potentially digital. Maybe the things that you're engaging with the app or other apps that put things up on the screen, then that's not really here, but I can engage with it.
Right.
So it's part of my environment, part of my digital environment.
Absolutely. As I like to say, you're the prop. You are the main prop because you're the guide that's helping people on camera. So absolutely, how you show up, and like we're doing now, we're at a place where we're able to have fun with it and even point at each other. Even if we point the wrong way, we play with it. That doesn't throw us off. But you want to be able to be in that zone where you're able to do that and not have your hands come off the lens, not come out the frame, and things like that. It just makes everything congruent.
Which is part of the testing thing too, though.
Absolutely.
If you do have, it's like, I don't know. It's like, oh, I don't actually, I feel the whole thing, so I can be anywhere. But there are other times when I am not filling the frame and you reach out and the hand gets cut off.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm testing. Next time I'll know. I need to remember, oh, this little dot. Okay, I'll remember that dot. I don't want to go past that dot. I need to make sure that I stand, further over.
Right. And what you said was important because, even like with what you're saying, what's helpful is that you're aware of it, but some people, they're not aware, and then they'll be like, oh, sorry. You know what I mean? And then people can get focused and flustered by those things, those little.
Right. Or distracted.
Yeah. Distracted.
If the presenter becomes distracted, then the audience can easily become distracted. And then it just train wrecks.
It train wrecks. So for me, I'd say that's the main thing, because you're the main prop. So no matter what's going on around you, you want to be able to have your self-awareness intact. Yes,
great.
Indeed. Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, and then we were going to touch base on some personal experiences, which we've kind of been doing with the demonstrations, cutting. Oh, my arm's cut off.
Right. Oh, one thing I want to say.
If you're not all there,
that's a tough one. Yeah, because it's like half of you's there and half of you's not. You're like the invisible man, And one thing I was gonna say too with the lighting, which is important because we both have good lighting, is that if you're not careful with the lighting, the way you can come across as grainy, and you don't want grainy. Grainy is kind of annoying for people when they see it on camera. And it could take away the quality a lot. So you want to be careful of that.
Although if you were having to decide between grainy video or clear audio, you want to invest in the clear audio first.
That's most important. People want to hear you.
But as far as the visual and being aware of your environment, well, the audio is still part of your environment.
Right, it sure is.
So, and then you have your digital audio, which I've been struggling with. Just because there's so many layers of technologies, and I want to do certain things certain ways, and technology works in other ways, and then they don't quite line up right. I just want it to mesh together, and it kind of goes like that. I got some of it working. But not this other part. Okay, test again. Test again.
Right. But your stuff is next level though. So
right. I'm not just trying to just get going or just make a presentation. I've accomplished that level, and now I'm trying to get to the next, and that's where it's the complication. So luckily I'm not being held back with just the regular stuff, but some people are, and that's okay, because I was to start with. I didn't get to the level of wanting the complex stuff right off the bat. I struggled through, how do I get this to work the way I want? Which kind of mic do I need to get? I started with the webcam and the mic on the webcam, and that sounded terrible. And the webcam was older. And then I got a fancier webcam. Here's a life example. I got a fancier webcam. But it wasn't as tolerant to my poor lighting, and it looked worse. I had to have perfect lighting for the more expensive, fancier webcam to give me the better picture. So just interesting that I had to, so I had this camera that did me no good. I actually, my old $69 Logitech from 5 years ago, 1080p, when it first came out, it was like, it was better than this brand new paid $199 on sale for this new thing, plus shipping.
Right.
And then it turned out that it wasn't going to do the job in my environment as well.
And was that the one where it hung in front of your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
The eye contact camera.
Yeah. And that's a big deal too. That's something to touch on as well, because for some people, I got to touch on this, Monty, where when you have the camera in front of you and you can't, or if the camera's above your screen and you're looking up, you're not looking straight forward. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but this is a little bit different. You want to have something that can set you up where you can look directly into the camera. And sometimes that's hard because you're looking at the screen at the next person or looking at yourself and the camera's off somewhere else. You want to have everything congruent. So find a way. The eye contact would have been a great example, but I know it didn't work for you because of the lighting.
Because of the lighting. Yeah. And then carry that story forward. Even with better lighting, I had gotten a different camera, which was even better. And so then it was like, oh, well, I don't even want to use this one. I spent $200 on something I'm not ever going to use and not using now.
Right.
But I was in, because I couldn't use it, I was in that boat where the camera was on top of my screen.
Right.
And even if you lower your screen down so that it can be more congruent and you put everything up as close to the top of the screen, close to the camera, so you can do things to make it as good as you can with the environment that you have, being aware, this is what I have. Let me do these things for it. And in the future, I know I'm going to get a teleprompter. I'm going to get a stand for my webcam, for my iPhone, for whatever I'm using.
Right on.
There's a ton of different products out there, but I question how well they work. Suction cup thing.
Yeah, you have to, yeah.
So, but there's the thing, you can test stuff out. Maybe that would be the thing that would get somebody that half step.
Right.
So even though it doesn't work for me, that doesn't mean that it doesn't work, in the right circumstances. Because once again, I bet you that eye contact camera worked great for bunches of people. There are bunches of good reviews. So it was my poor lighting. And then because I experienced something even better, I couldn't go back to it.
Right. Makes sense. Good stuff, Monty. I like that. I appreciate you covering that, because that's a big deal. I know there are people that struggle with that too. So
yeah, well, I did. I still I still tweak with stuff. I'm still testing.
Right.
Hey, let me adjust this light by 3%. Hey, let me change the angle of this light.
Right.
Hey, let me try my box light. Let me put it closer to the ceiling. Let me angle it a little bit. And I'll do that for a couple recordings or shows or Zooms or whatever, and then I'll assess. Was that better? Should it go back the way it was?
Right. Yeah. That's what you got to do, Monty. Yeah, so I feel like we covered some good stuff today, Monty. How will we keep this simple?
Well, I'm going to say that just being aware of your environment beyond physical into the digital environment, which includes being self-aware, since, as you said, you're your own prop, you're your biggest prop, and you're on camera.
Right.
And this was just touching base on a lot of the key points, a lot of suggestions and possible solutions are in your book in chapter 2. Where would somebody be able to pick that book up at?
Glad you asked, Monty. If someone wanted to get this book, Speak Confidently on Camera, you can go to www.carlaleen.com/books. That's right. I went /books. I went old school, Monty. Yes.
That's okay. It works.
It works. And Monty, if someone wants to get unwhelmed with their business and then they're trying to strategize and get life together and get their stuff up online, and they want to think simply, but things are just so complicated. Where can they go to get unwhelmed? Not underwhelmed, but unwhelmed.
Unwhelmed, particularly solopreneurs, overwhelmed solopreneurs. Because I'm that person, oftentimes becoming overwhelmed, have to go and do some things so I become unwhelmed. And then you have to do some things to stay unwhelmed. So if you go to www.unwhelmed.com,
That's all you did there.
you can pick up that book for free.
For free.
Spreading the knowledge. This is what I am encountered. This is what I am utilizing. I map stuff out.
Love it. So that they can see the path. They can see the light.
Light through the foliage, through the thick jungle. Not down the train tunnel.
That's the train tunnel.
You don't want to see the light at the end of the train tunnel, because that's the train coming down the tunnel.
That's scary. All right, everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Enjoy your week and your time with family.
And we'll see you in the new year.
See you in the new year. Balloons and party.
Bye.